oftentimes when people don't see you with bruises on your body or black eye or maybe a swollen face, they'll be like, okay, you're fine. They will say you're good to go. People are always in denial of the existence of emotional and psychological abuse. Sometimes these things are not even visible because they come in different forms. Abuse can be in different forms. Sometimes can be manipulation, sometimes maybe narcissistic behavior from people or from people that would like to feed their insecurities. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the show DEEN and DUNYA. This is a program where we talk about issues that we see around, issues that people don't find it comfortable to talk about them. We try to bring these issues so that we'll try to address them. And today, inshallah, we have for you another important topic, which is domestic violence. My name is Rahma Mustafa Ghani, and I have with me in the studio our special guest. She is Alaja Maryam Mashood, and she is the CEO of Baimo Charity Foundation. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And then I have my co-host, Habiba Abdullahi. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
So, domestic violence, I think this is very wide because sometimes you would see that, well, there are men that go through violence or abuse, but I think the majority of people being the victims are women. And so most times they would like to equate being in a position to endure and suffer with goodness. So for example, if you now try to say, I would like to stand up for myself, I'm not taking this anymore, they'll be like, okay, she's now bad or she's not a good person. So what can you say about things like that?
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulih. Domestic violence is an act of aggression in the home when there is threat, when somebody is feeling threatened in the home, when they're not comfortable in the home, when they're not able to express themselves, when they are constantly living in fear.
True.
About somebody within the house trying to harm them. When we say domestic means domesticated. It's a family home, family setting, where it's supposed to be a secured place. Safe space.
Yeah.
When you are in your home, you are meant to be able to relax, to feel comfortable.
Identify with everybody.
Communicate, feel relaxed and be able to harmonize within the people around you.
Yeah.
The issue of domestic violence is very wide. As you rightly mentioned, it could be physical, it could be emotional, and it could be verbal as well. All this create fear.
True.
But the root cause of domestic violence is what we need to shine the torchlight on. What are the factors? What are the causes? Why do people decide to be aggressive? Is it a sign of frustration? Is it because they're not being heard when they speak? Is it because, they don't feel comfortable, they don't feel valued? What is it?
Islam's positions on domestic violence is came out from its position stands on not just the Sunnah, but also historical contemporary verdict.
Yes.
Like the fatwas, you understand? So there are guidelines and rules that helps us understand. And then we need to understand the basic simple terms in a verbal meaning that as Muslims, that violence and coercion should not be used as a tool. You understand, of pressure,
of control.
Yes, and control at home. You understand?
Yes.
Those simple terms matter. So when in enable us to understand, you need to understand that it's unacceptable in Islam for you to inflict pain,
Yes.
or cause harm to somebody, or do things that you yourself know that when they do to you, you might likely not
harm.
Yes, it will cause you harm, or it is going to be distasteful to you.
Right.
Yes.
When we're talking about domestic here, we're talking about the spouses, the father, the mother, sometimes the children, sometimes the relatives, the
Even
extended
guardians,
family.
yes.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. As you rightly said, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is our role model.
Exactly.
We've read, we've heard about his teachings, about he lived by example. We know that he was very helpful with his wives. We know that he was very playful with his wife. From the Sunnah and Hadith of Nana Aisha, radiallahu anha, she talked about how she used to ride on the back of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They used to do play fight. He used to ride on his back, very playful. He used to bite dates and then spit it. You know, they share dates. So these are intimate relationship outside. We've heard about the way he treated his children, the daughters, with the wives relatives, the community, his companions, the Sahaba, the whole community, even to the people that were causing him harm. There was story of a lady who usually put rubbish on the path of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he's going to the mosque. But he didn't get hungry. He was always peaceful. So where did this come from?
We have the examples, all
We
these
have
examples of the Prophet ﷺ.
Yes.
But the thing is, nowadays, even if a man picks a wife, now they would say she'll have to be docile. She'll have to keep quiet. Whatever it is that he's going to throw on her, she'll just have to take it.
What we know is an assumption. That is not in our Sunnah. That is not in the Holy Quran.
There is no companionship.
It's not in the Sunnah. It's not the way of the prophets.
No, ideally, some of these things are sanctioned by cultural practices. So there is no way that Islam would permit you to commit that harm all in its...
There are lots of things that we are mixing into the pot.
Exactly.
Cultural practices, Islam is totally different.
They sometimes...
Any culture that is in conflict, that goes against the teaching of Islam is abhorrent.
Yes.
So people should stop mixing it up. Our community should follow the guidance of the Sunnah and
The fatwas.
the fatwas. In there, it did say the man is the head of his household. We all have responsibility. Women of the house
Everybody
have
has their role.
responsibility.
Yeah.
The man has responsibility. There's no competition between the two. There shouldn't
Obviously,
be
yeah,
any
because even from the
competition.
beginning of creation,
From
we're
the
never
beginning
made
of the
the
creation, the role of the man is clearly stated
But let's not forget, ma,
as the
that
protector
yes.
of the whole household,
yes.
of the family,
But I also
of
like
the wife.
us not to forget that sometimes violence, domestic violence, is not just about the husband and wife.
The children too.
General, yeah.
They're all forms of abuse, especially now in the 21st century. We are at terrible times that unimaginable, unscrupulous things happen in our society, everyday life, you understand? But sexual abuse, mental abuse, you know, even people that you think would never cause harm to you, maybe your brothers or your sisters or your aunties, people that are the closest to you, your blood relation, you find yourself in a position where they don't do right by you.
As Muslims, we have to follow the Sunnah. We have to follow the guidance of our holy books. We have to follow the guidance of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the other prophets too. It clearly says that the family unit We are all responsible for ourselves. The parents should provide secure home environment, should provide warmth, clothing, security. The woman too should provide secured home, nourishment, good environment. The children, it's a teamwork. It's a teamwork. We all have to play our part. Most of the things that we are talking about is man-made. It's when we moved away from the guidance of our scripture.
Yeah.
When we move away, we have to practice what we preach. The role of the family is very unique, that we have responsibility to each other, to look after each other, to look after the members of our household. Whether it's a gardener, whether it's a gatekeeper, whether it's grandma, grandpa, uncles, aunties, we are all of the same king.
True.
Even
So
our neighbors,
whatever,
brothers and sisters.
whatever you wish for yourself is what you should wish for
True.
for the others. No one like to be humiliated. Nobody like to be hit. You know, if I slap your face, you're not going to be smiling at me. If you are hungry, you want food. Do you understand? So it's a collective responsibility. It's a team. It's a team. Team.
So everybody has a role to play,
have a role
considering that a lot of things are happening.
Exactly.
Because we have examples of house helps being raped and maltreated over silly mistakes. We bring human beings.
Who is the perpetrator? Who is the perpetrator? We as Muslim, even as human beings, he says we should show kindness to each other. You should always put smile on people's faces.
Yeah.
Why would you want to hurt your housemate? Your housemate is members of your household. You give instruction to them. If they have failed to follow your instruction, there are ways to reprimand people.
Yes.
If they're not good, you can even replace them, so you don't have
Even
to.
in marital homes, when there is understanding, because I know Islam has put a landmark on how we could go about this kind of things when they're happening in marriage. You know, sometimes before you don't need to get physical. There's measures you can take that you would bridge that gap. That whatever is going on, because we know that marriage is not a bed of roses, everything is not perfect. So at some point there will be, so is human.
Exactly.
You understand? So it's a human nature to make mistakes and all that. It all depends on how we correct each other. I know of one of the teachings in the Holy Quran that says, okay, the man is one of the fatwas actually from contemporary teachings. It says, okay, when your wife does something to you that you don't like and you bring it to light, communication is important, but she does not. You could decide to you're staying away from the bedroom.
Exactly.
Some of these things that would make her want to, because women are naturally
you have to talk about it.
Exactly. So you could take some of those measures instead of getting physical, because abusive behaviors
But some people actually do religious manipulation. They can use the scripture to mold it into what they want to do.
Putting the part that favors them.
Let me take you out a bit. Let's look at the factors. What are the factors of domestic violence? Stress.
Stress, yes.
Yes. Frustration.
Financial
Financial.
money is always a problem.
Money is always a
Yes,
problem.
money is also a problem.
What else? All these things are generational.
Family disputes. Disputes. Maybe there are cases where they don't like me.
When actually you mentioned that, it reminded me of the concept of Leslie Morgan, of Crazy Love or something like that. She said, like, the abusers actually follow different stages before they strike. Like, first of all, they'll try to, shower you with love, care, support, all these things, so that you have utmost trust for them.
Exactly.
And then secondly, they'll try to isolate you and
they show you that nobody cares for you the way they do.
Then the next thing is that they'll try to now threaten you. If you try to do anything or you try to leave, then later on they will now react, and then they will just strike and they will start beating you up. So she was telling people about her story, that when she met her husband, like he was so good to her, like he was the best person she has ever met. Then later on, he started isolating her. He even moved out of the country so that people around her might not rescue her or see the bruises on her face and all that. Then the next thing he did was he brought like 3 guns into the house, one in their car, the other one beside the bed, and the other one always with him. So he started pointing the gun at her and all that. Then later on, he started beating her up. So she was like, if maybe these people, the abusers, start showering all this love and all that, they will try to share with you a big secret that is in their part of life, so that you build that trust, and then you cannot go anywhere and you stick with them.
Exactly. In a way that you keep coming back, you know, you find yourself in this kind of love triangle, you know, this intoxicated relationship that you think there's nothing better for you out there, so you keep coming back.
All right.